In this video, I'm going to show you how you can create a simple router through LangGraph. So first, we are going to import the environment variables. So from .env import load.env, and then I'm going to call that load.env function so that the environment variable gets loaded in my notebook. After that, I'm going to create an instance of chat OpenAI. For that, I'm going to import it from LangChain OpenAI. So from LangChain OpenAI, import chat OpenAI. Then we might also need OS. So I'm just going to import OS as well. We are then going to create an instance of chat OpenAI like this. We'll set the temperature to 0. And then we are also going to set the API key to the key which we created. OpenAI API key. Like last time, we are going to use the same function. So I'm going to create this function again, get weather, city, literal, NYC, SF, and then I'm just going to copy this function from the last time. So the next step which we need to do is we need to bind a model with this tool. So we are just going to name it model with tools is equals to model dot bind tools, and then I can provide a list of functions to it which I want to bind. So till now we haven't done anything related to LangGraph. Now we have to create a graph which is going to use this model with tools. So for that we are going to do some imports from LangGraph. First thing first, I'm going to import the state graph. Then we need some states. So LangGraph dot graph import messages state start and end. Because we are going to use a tool, so we will need a tool node. So from LangGraph dot prebuild, I'm going to import a tool node. From LangGraph dot prebuild, we are also going to use tools condition as well. So these are the imports which we will need to create a graph. Now we are going to create a function which is going to act like a node. So def tool calling LLM state, it is going to take a state as an input. We are going to pass the state as an input to this function, and it is going to return the output by calling the model with tools dot invoke state messages. So whatever messages are going to be passed to this function, those messages are going to be passed to the large language model for the results. Okay. Now finally, we are going to build the graph. So build graph builder equals to state graph message state builder dot add node. So our first node is going to be the tool calling LLM node. So I'm just going to name it tool calling LLM, and the function which will be called when the execution happens. So the function which we want to call at that time is going to be call tool calling LLM. The next node which we need to add to this graph is going to be the tool node. So add node, I'm going to name it tools, and we are going to create a tool node using the using the class which we imported from LangGraph, which is tool node. And then I'm going to pass the function which I want this tool node to have information about. After that, we are just going to add an edge from start to the tool calling node, tool calling LLM. And after that, we are going to add a conditional edge from tool calling LLM to either to the tools node or it is going to go to the end. It depends on the condition. It depends on what exactly is going to be the output of the tool calling LLM node. So if there is a tool which needs to be called, tool node is going to be executed. Otherwise, it is going to go to the end. So we are going to add a conditional edge from tool calling LLM based on the tool condition. So I'll just tell you what exactly happens inside this tool condition. So there is an edge which we want from the tool calling LLM node to the tools node, but based on whatever is the output of this function, we are going to decide whether to go to the tools node or whether we need to go to the end. And that is something which gets decided by the tools condition. So it's an inbuilt function which decides whether to call a tool or not. And finally, we are going to add a edge between the tools node and the end state. And finally, we are going to build our graph. We are going to compile it. So builder.compile. Set. Let's see how the graph looks like. So for that, I'm just going to use these two statements to show the graph. So this is how it looks like. This is how the graph looks like. So it is going to start from the starting, and then there is a node which is going to tell us whether to call a tool or not. So if this node decides that a tool needs to be called, so now let's see how exactly we are going to call this graph. So from LangChain core, from LangChain core, I'm going to import human message, messages equal to human message, and I'm going to pass in content, and in this content I'm going to say what is the weather of San Francisco. I'm going to put it inside a list, and then I'm going to pass this messages as an input to the graph. So messages colon messages. So we are going to get an output from this. Let's look at how the output looks like. So for m in out messages m dot pretty print, and this is how the output looks like. So we can see here that when we have sent this input to the graph, it has actually called a tool which we define, which was get weather tool, and the input which it has taken is SF, which is representative of San Francisco, and then this tool is getting called and we are getting this answer as an output, which is it's always sunny in SF. And you can see that when we define the function, the output for SF, so if the city is SF, we are going to get this as an output. So that's it. That's how you can create a simple router using LangGraph.